Hello and welcome to our lesson today. So today our objective is scholars will find the y-intercept of a function presented in any format. So you're going to find the y-intercept no matter what format I give it to you. Remember, we've talked about the different formats of how you may see functions. So let's look at the first thing. There are different definitions for what is a y-intercept. There's 3 definitions for it. And it really depends what you're looking at. They're all true all the time. So first one is the value of y, which is the output. Sometimes it won't be y, it'll be something else. When x, the input, is 0. So the value of y when x is 0 is our first definition. The second one, the place where the graph crosses the y or vertical axis. Okay, I misspelled vertical. Sorry, guys. Spelling is not my thing. It should be vertical. I left out the T. And finally, the starting point of the function. And we're going to use each of these differently depending on what representation of the function we're looking at. So let's look first at this. How can I find the y-intercept of an equation? So this is when we're looking at equations. So it's really simple. Remember that we've looked at this wonderful format, y equals mx plus b. Remember, m was our rate of change or slope. Well, the cool thing is b is your y-intercept. So b is your y-intercept. So when I look at this first one, this right here is b. Notice it is minus 5. That minus tells me that my answer is going to be negative 5. So in this case, the y-intercept is negative 5. The next one, it says plus 2. So my y-intercept is a positive 2. Let's look at this one. This one, it doesn't say anything. Well, what would be there that we wouldn't write? How about plus 0, right? We would never write plus 0. This one has a y-intercept of 0. And this last one, negative x divided by 3 minus 15, our y-intercept is just negative 15. So when we're looking at an equation, all we're looking for is what's being added or subtracted. That's our y-intercept. So let's look at another format. What if I'm looking at, instead of an equation, I'm looking at a table? So notice I gave you a different definition here. Remember, I told you there are 3 definitions. So this is the value of y when x is 0. So I'm going to start by looking at my x column and finding 0. Do we see where 0 is here? When x is 0, y is negative 3. So the y-intercept of this one is negative 3. Same thing, when x is 0, y is 0. That's our y-intercept. Again, when x is 0, y is 1. And this one, this time our input is not x, but this is still our input. When our input is 0, our output is 650. So when you're looking at a table, all you're going to do is find where your input is 0 and give the output for the y-intercept. Well, what about when I'm looking at a graph? Okay, so this is one of the other definitions. It was where the graph crosses the y-axis. So remember, this vertical axis, this is our y-axis. And we can highlight it if we need to make things easier for us. This is our y-axis. So that we're going to look for the place where it crosses that y-axis. So, for this first one, I crossed the y-axis right here, and it actually gave me the point. My y-intercept is 1. When we talk about the y-intercept, we only talk about the y value of it. Let's look at this next one. I look right here, is where I'm crossing my y-axis. It's crossing at 9. And notice both of those are above my x-axis. See my x-axis here. Well, let's look at this one. This one is below my x-axis. So this one crosses at -2. And then this last one, I'm going to make it a little bigger so we can see it. You can see it's crossing at -1. I know because this is -5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that this one crosses at -1. The point where they come together is 0, 0, or our origin. Not too hard so far. Oops, sorry. Let me undo that. Okay, now let's look at the last way that we might see. What if I have a verbal description? This is when they tell us with words. So in this case, we're looking at the starting point of the function. Where does it start? So the first one, I have $50 in my bank account and deposit $10 each week. So we have two different numbers here. We have $50 and we have $10. Which one is where I start? Well, I start with $50 in my bank account. So the y-intercept is 50. Let's look at the next one. The plumber charges $50 to come to my house and then $75 per hour. Notice something. This one is $10 each week, $75 per hour. Those are our rates. We're looking for the starting point here, though. So the starting point here is, again, 50. Well, let's look at the next one. I owe $400 to my sister. Each week I pay her $25. Again, the second part, each week I pay her, is my rate. 400 is my y-intercept. 400 is my y-intercept. And actually, I owe 400. So this is actually -400. I owe $400. I pay her $25. So we add $25 each time to lower our debt. Last one. I begin to I begin to fill up my fish tank. The faucet adds 2 gallons per minute. Well, I only have one number here, but this is 2 gallons per minute. That is my rate. That is my rate. That is not my starting point. So I begin to fill up my fish tank. We have to assume that the fish tank is empty. So the y-intercept here is just 0. If you have any questions, please review this. Make sure you fill in your notes and then do your classwork and your mastery check. Talk to you later.